Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can't believe we're here. I know I've been promising for the past 15 minutes that we were going to get started, but now we're really going to get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Fatima Nelson. I'm a community engagement specialist here with the School of Public Policy. Welcome to UCR. There's a little background here. My name is Fatima Nelson. I'm a community engagement specialist here with the School of Public Policy. Welcome. You don't need to hear me twice. UCR. There's a little background here. My name is Fatima Nelson. I'm a community engagement specialist here with the School of Public Policy. Welcome. You don't need to hear me twice. Sorry about it. Sorry about it. I'll go grab her. Thank you. Got it. Wait. Let's try it now, because I think. Let's turn off the audio. Okay, let's try it again. Let's wait. It's going up to the cloud through Zoom and coming back. Hello. These are voices from. Hello. Good, you don't hear me twice. So, well, let's try it again. So I'm so excited about you being here. Welcome to the Southern California Youth Futures Summit. Do we have Riverside in the house? Can I get a screen? Where's Riverside? Watch, Moreno Valley is going to show you up. Where's Moreno Valley? Riverside, you want to try it one more time? Where's Riverside? And last but never least, where's San Bernardino? So we got a lot of folks represented here. And I'm glad you all probably never get a chance to be in the same space with each other. But we are going to do this together. This is Black History Month, so I'm going to ask you a Black History question. Do you know how old Dr. King was when he passed away? When he was unfortunately taken from us? I'm hearing some, do you know he was only in his 30s? So do you know what that means? That means that he was leading the march to Washington, that he was breaking down barriers, that he was leading thousands of people when he was only in his teens and his 20s, that the entire civil rights movement was supported by young people your age. So if anybody asks you to wait until you grow up before we ask you to participate in conversations that are important to you, you tell them there is no time to wait. That 50 years ago, they didn't wait, and neither am I. Today, we want to get your feedback. We want your visions and your hopes and your dreams for your community. And we hope to get that from you so that we can present it to the governor next month. There are a lot of conversations going on about what should happen in our communities around climate, housing, criminal justice, all of these things that we care about. None of these conversations should be happening without you at the table. And that's why we have you here today. Thank you so much for being here. And something that we always do in a lot of professional circles that I think is just a great development is we do a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Native American tribes that occupied the land before. And we at UCR would like to respectfully acknowledge and recognize our responsibility to the original and current caretakers of this land, water and air, the Kuia, Tonga, and the Lusingo, I'm probably saying it horribly, and the Serrano peoples, and of all their ancestors and descendants, past, present, and future. Some of you are here today. Today, this meeting place is home to many indigenous peoples from all over the world, including UCR faculty, students, and staff. And we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these homelands with you. Yeah, right? So we have a full day for you today. I'm not going to read you the agenda, but just know.
So let me
Actually, we're not provide both names because it's happens.
Get more feedback, but
hold on, let me give you
and I know that your chaperone's probably ready.
and I'm so glad he was able to come.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And
Safety obvious.
it's really nice that parents are so supportive. It's just super great. Okay, great. Yeah, just use the name that, and that his parking will be paid for in lot 1.
Okay, thank you.
It's lot 1, right? We paid for it? So when you
As long as he says he's coming to the youth summit, his parking's free. Okay. Yeah, and either they're gonna tell him to park at lot 1 or
we're gonna wait a second, folks.
Really quickly, make sure everybody is logged into the guest Wi-Fi. That was what you scanned. So make sure that you're logged in because we have an activity for you, okay? So check that. Thank you to all of our partners. Can we give our partners a round of applause, please? Because these folks are the reason why you are here. We could not have made this happen without these partners. Okay, and without further ado, I'm going to introduce my executive director and go without himself. Dr. Carthy Christian is a visionary. He is a professor here at the School of Public Policy at UC Riverside, and he's also the executive director of California 100, which is really amazing statewide initiative where they're doing in all of the regions of California what we're trying to do today. So he is really reading this call because he knows it's super important. He's in rooms with the governor and congressmen and state legislators all the time, and he's always saying, do you have people at the table fighting for vulnerable communities? Do you have people at the table giving voice to you? And so that's why we are here today. So I'm so excited to be introducing my executive director and really the brains behind this entire initiative, Dr. Carthy.
Thank you. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you, everybody. And apologies. I also do tech support, as you can tell, from time to time. Thank you so much for bringing your talent, your energy, your interest. We're going to do a lot of work today. It's going to be a lot of fun, though. Hopefully, this will be
They're going to come back here.
years from now. The kind of skills we'll be teaching you will be important not only in your own lives, but in the future of the state of California. The things that you're doing here, Inland Empire always gets forgotten. It's always second or third in people's priority list. Well, guess what? We're doing this here first before we take it statewide. So this is where innovation happens, right? That's why we're called the Center for Social Innovation. We're here to tell people that innovation is not just something that happens in Silicon Valley or something that's happening down in San Diego. It's happening right here in the IE. And you are all part of that story. Innovators are everywhere in California. But the resources and the credit and the investments don't go to where the innovators are. So hopefully, what you do coming out of today is to feel this renewed sense that you got this, that you have ideas that are worth spreading, and you'll have a chance to write down your visions in postcards that will be stacked and sent to the governor, to the Senate Pro Tem, and to the Speaker of the Assembly. And what we're going to do when we hand that over is to say that these represent the hopes and dreams of young people in California. What are you going to do about it? It's powerful. And you're the first ones. You're the first ones in the door to do this. So I'm incredibly proud to be able to do this here at UC Riverside, where CSI was born, and where now we have California 100 incubated, coming out of a lot of the work that we do, as well as work coming out of Berkeley, Stanford, and so many other centers throughout the state. Just going to introduce our dean for the School of Public Policy. He'll say a few remarks, and I'll come back and say a bit more about California 100 and what we have planned today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Long. I'm the Dean of the School of Public Policy here at UC Riverside. I can only be with you for a few minutes this morning, but I just want to say I am super inspired to see all of these young people who have this energy and passion to improve the lives of this region and the lives of the world. Here at our School of Public Policy, our motto is solutions for the region, solutions for the world. And the way I think about that is that the kind of solutions we come up with for this region, for Southern California, for the Inland Empire, for California, can be exemplars for the kind of solutions that could be taken out to the broader world. And conversely, things that are important for the world can inform the kind of work that we're doing here in the region. Finally, I just want to put in a plug. If you're interested in continuing this work in your academic work, we have an undergraduate bachelor's degree and minor in public policy here at UC Riverside. We also have a MPP 5-year program that you can get a master's degree plus a regular master's in public policy. So if you want to continue this kind of energy into your college studies, we would welcome you as undergraduate students. Thanks.
Thank you, Dean Long. And I want to reiterate that, right? How many people here are passionate about social justice? Okay, about half of you. Hopefully we'll have more of those hands up. How many people care about the future of their community? All right. Well, if you care about it, think about places like UCR. How many people are thinking maybe they'll apply to UCR? Okay, would love to see more of those hands up. That's amazing, right? These are the places where you can take your ideals, but also the things that just really frustrate you, the things that anger you, and to convert that, right? To organize, to analyze, to plan, and make sure the kinds of systems that have been built all around you that are not serving you well, that are not serving your families well, that are not serving your communities well, for you to understand how those systems get built and to be part of that change in ways big and small. The ways that you can do it in your personal lives, the ways that you can do it in your professional lives, and the ways that you can do it in community with others. So I'll say a little bit about what we have today, right? So what we have today right now is we're gonna work with you on a visioning exercise. So I'm glad that we caught up on time, and we're gonna proceed full steam ahead. Now, some of the skills that we would teach you here today are things that, like I said before, will be important in your own personal lives, but also in the lives of your communities. And these visioning exercises, by the way, I've done this with people like you, college students. There was a Students of Color conference at UC Davis across the UC system. So it was great to workshop it with them. I presented this to legislators in the California State Assembly. I presented to people across various state agencies, but never to a crowd as big as this. So we're like excited to see what you come up with your visions. We've never presented to a high school student population, right? And in many ways, I think the ideas you have will be even bigger and bolder than what we've had before. Because one of the things that tends to happen as people get older is you start hearing all the reasons why you can't do something, that something is not possible. So what I want you to do today is to throw all of that aside. There's plenty of other time for people to say, oh, there's no money for that. Oh, there's not a politician who's going to support that. Or even the technology doesn't exist yet for that. I want you to remove all of the reasons why people say something is not possible or something is impossible, and for you to dare to dream what is possible so that you can be part of the solution and make it happen. After that, we'll have keynote speakers, including members of the Assembly, including Corey Jackson, who just got elected. I heard a shout out there, right? Corey comes from all over this region, right? From the Fontana Rialto area, and most recently from Moreno Valley. He's probably some of your representatives in the legislature. I got to hear some of his ideas, and they're pretty bold, you know, and he has up to 12 years to be able to enact some of the things. But people like him, people like Assembly Member Sabrina Cervantes, how many people here from Riverside area? She might be your representative. She too is a dreamer and a doer, right? That's what we want to do here. We want to grow the ranks of dreamers in California, but also doers. Not only to have that vision, but to come up with the solutions and the strategies and the commitments and the persistence, right? To not give up and make sure that our elected officials and institutions are being held accountable. I believe we also have Majority Leader, Assembly Majority Leader Eloise Gomez-Reyes coming, and then Congressman Mark Takano. He'll be joining us after lunch. You are that important, people, right? A congressman is going to come here. And everything that we gather here, we're going to send it to him too, so that he knows and understands what your dreams are, what your ideals are, but also what your concrete plans are to make this a better region and a better state. Then we'll have a lunch and a resource fair. We have all sorts of tables that are set up for you to get inspired by the work that is happening here. Then we'll come back, go over solutions. By the way, Congressman Takano will be speaking with you after lunch. And then we're gonna have breakout sessions and then workshops. And then all throughout, we hope that you're engaged, not only with what we're presenting, but hopefully with each other and with the educators that are there with you as your mentors and your guides in this work. Then we'll take a group photo and the buses will come and pick you up. So, California 100. Before I go into that, I'll just say a little bit about myself, about the Center for Social Innovation, and then California 100. The kind of work we do here is to lay the foundations for more equitable futures. So you'll notice the word futures in there. You're going to hear a lot about futures and futurism today. But equity is also a core aspect of everything that we do. And we started doing this before it became fashionable to do so. The work we do follows a very simple framework, and we call it data, narrative, and action That spells DNA, right? So if you ask someone, what's your DNA? They might be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Or am I in trouble? Or I haven't done my 23andMe thing yet, right? That's not what we're talking about. Often when you try to, say you have a problem in your school, or you have a problem in your neighborhood, there are these potholes that are not getting fixed, right? Or some other major problem, and you go to an official and you ask them to do something about it, they'll want evidence, right? They'll be like, I can't just listen to you saying that there's a problem. Say you say, you know what? So many of my friends are struggling with mental health issues. And you go to someone in your school district, you go to a legislator to say, this is a big deal. They'll say, well, what percentage of students have this problem? Is it getting worse over time? And you're like, yeah, but all my friends are feeling this. That's great. But where's the data? That's usually the first thing you will hear. If you're asking someone to spend money to solve a problem, they'll want to know, what is the size of the population that is affected? Is the problem getting worse over time? And if you're a politician, can I get credit for the solution, right? So data is important. You need data for credibility. People will not take you seriously if you don't have data. By the way, if your school district doesn't generate the data, if you can't go to different surveys that are national or state to get the data, you can create your own surveys, right? You can use tools like Google Survey, SurveyMonkey using their free feature, whatever, to generate your own data about the problems that you see. And you can get on that journey, right, to do the kind of research that's going to help you, your communities, advance. But data isn't all that you need. The kinds of powerful stories that motivated you in the first place to care about the issue, to do something about it, those stories are narrative. And you need that. How many of you have talked to a news reporter before? Has anyone talked to a news reporter before? Okay. They want to hear the human interest story. How is this affecting you? How is this affecting your family? How is this affecting your neighborhood? I've tried in the past. We put in countless weeks working on a report, and we find a set of data points, and we'd like talk to reporters, this is really important. And they're like, okay, you got the numbers, but who are the people behind the numbers? What are the stories behind the numbers? And that's something that's going to matter when you go to an assembly member's office, right? They'll want the data, but they'll want to know, how is this affecting you? Who does this affect? How many people have visited the office of a member of the Assembly, State Senate, or Congress? By the time we're done here, I would challenge you all, before the academic year is done, look at the kinds of bills that are in front of the legislature, or even the assembly members that are going to be here. Find out when their office hours are. Go to their offices. But before you do that, get prepared with the major issues that you care about, that you want them to pay attention to. Now let me see hands. How many people think they can do that before the end of the academic year? Okay. Hopefully we'll have a lot more hands by the time we're done today. And then finally, all of this, you can just keep collecting data. I have one of these like meme photos of, remember that guy from, this is going to be old, Super Size Me? Have you ever seen Super Size Me? There's a guy with a bunch of McDonald's fries in his mouth. That's the way a lot of people in my world think of data. They're like, I'm just going to grab all the data, just stuff it in there, right? And that's not really helpful. What you actually have to do is be very selective about the data that you're going to choose, very selective about the narrative. By the way, Fatima talked about Martin Luther King, right? Do y'all know about Rosa Parks? Why did Rosa Parks become the face of the bus boycott and the civil rights movement? Do you know? She was seen as squeaky clean, right? Her personal story would be so pure and unimpeachable that the people who opposed integration, they dug deep into her story. There was nothing they could find that could derail the movement, right? Now, I'm not saying that kind of respectability politics is what we should be doing, but that shows you when you're trying to make systemic change, you have to pay attention to narrative. People will want to know who is behind this, what's behind this. Your opponents are going to try to get as much dirt on you and your cause as they can. So all of this has to be part of strategic action. You need to figure out, what is the change I want to see in the world? What is the change I want to see in my country? What is the change I want to see in my state, in my community, my neighborhood, in my school? And then figure out, what is the data that I need that'll make it credible and persuadable? Who are the people that a decision maker will be like, okay, I find this person credible, or I find the story moving, right? Now, there's all sorts of stereotypes and prejudices that might prevent a decision maker to pay attention to what you have to say. So you'll need to figure out, what are the battles you're going to pick, right? You're like, you know what? I want to wear all my tattoos out and all my piercings, and I'm just going to do what I do. But then you might want to think about, maybe there's someone else you bring with you that might not turn off that decision maker, even if they're supportive. There's all sorts of unconscious biases, right, that operate in a decision maker's mind. So just to be mindful of that. Again, do not change who you are, but you actually have different selves, right? It's kind of like a multiverse. You actually have different versions of who you are. You know full well how to code switch. How you talk in class versus what you do on the basketball court or what you do at home. Just use those skills when you're talking to decision makers. It's not that different from what you do when you speak in a classroom or if you're getting called to the principal's office, right? So that's DNA. I'll just say a little bit about how this can be powerful for communities. So one of the projects I run is called AAPI Data. Does anyone know what AAPI stands for? There we go, Asian American and Pacific Islander. Yeah. So this started off about 10 years ago as a website. It is still a website, but it's something that I started with a graduate student at UCR. And I started it because I was getting calls from reporters wanting to know about Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. And I was like, oh, you just go to the Census Bureau's website and just look up the data. He was looking for data on Vietnamese Americans in Orange County. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty simple to do. And I kind of started talking and he was like, no, I'm not a researcher. Can you just produce this data for me and I'll just credit you and then I'll interview you. This happened to be a reporter for The Economist, which is like one of the biggest publications in the world, right? People all over the world read it. Decision makers, right? Heads of state, ministers in government read The Economist. But that's what my light bulb moment was like, wow, there's an opportunity here because people find it difficult to get data. We will just start producing frequently requested data that reporters might want, government agency officials might want, community members might want. We started talking with community members and they said, yeah, we want to know how many Filipinos there are in Riverside County, or how many Hmong are there in LA County. It was very difficult. It still is very difficult if you go to the US Census Bureau's website to get that information. So we found that opportunity, we grabbed it, and off we went. And for a while, Sono and I were getting more news coverage, and API Data was getting more news coverage than like entire departments of Asian American studies that have been around for decades. Right? That's innovation that sprung out of here at UC Riverside. So one of the things we did, and this is where you'll see data, narrative, and action at play. So in 2014, President Obama announced an expansion of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. How many people have heard of DACA? Right? So there was an initial set of people that qualified under DACA, and so the administration wanted to expand it by including others. They also proposed a program called Deferred Action for the Parents of Americans, right? So that if you were an adult whose child is a US citizen and you are undocumented, it would have given you work authorization too and prevent you from getting deported. Remember that? I mean, that, by the way, those mass deportations were not just under Trump. They happened in the Obama administration too. I don't know if you remember that. It affected our region so much. I remember that in 2008, 2009. Right? Many parts of Riverside County are under the jurisdiction of Border Patrol. So it's not just what happens in jails that was happening. There were people getting stopped at traffic stops and getting deported. It's a huge issue, right? And it was actually, it was the activism of young people. Remember Fatima was talking about the civil rights movement? We got civil rights movements going on right now. You had a bunch of dreamers who locked themselves up in the Colorado campaign office for the re-election of Barack Obama. And they said, we refuse to leave unless you do something about this. They partnered with a law professor from UCLA, Hiroshi Motomura, and a bunch of others that said, you know what? You don't need Congress to pass a law to make a difference here. You can actually do things through executive action to provide relief to millions of undocumented young people. So anyway, this was a follow-on program. That day, the Migration Policy Institute put out a table and maps in terms of the undocumented population in different states in the country. And then if you dig below, you could see the number of Asian undocumented in each state. So I remember calling up Sono that morning and I said, Sono, we just got a treasure trove of data. Let's create some very quick infographics out of it. And let's put those infographics out. What we did, so at the time it was like, I think 1.2 or 1.3 million Asian undocumented in the country. But when you talk about millions and billions and trillions, it's really, really hard for people to wrap their minds around what that means. So what we did, quite literally and figuratively, is we reduced it to human scale. And what we did is math skills that any middle school student should be able to do. We took a number, the numerator, which is the number of Asian undocumented. The denominator was the number of Asians that are immigrants or foreign born in the country. So we took a number that was like 1.2 million, 1.3 million. People had no idea what to do with it. And we said 1 out of every 7 Asian immigrants is undocumented. And that really started turning people's perceptions that immigration and undocumented immigration is not just a Latino issue. It's also an issue that affects Asian Americans. By the way, undocumented immigration affects white immigrants, Black immigrants, as well as Latino immigrants, right? Interesting factoid, one of the highest proportion of undocumented of any national origin group in the country, Irish immigrants. Okay, and that's not historical, like that's right now. These are the kind of data points that are important to change our perceptions and narratives. So what happened after that? We got the data out. We relied on all of our partners in community to boost it on social media. Back when Twitter was actually a force for good, potentially, right? So all of our friends on Twitter started boosting the signal. And within 2 days, I had an interview request from NPR Weekend Edition. This is a show that is broadcast throughout the country. And again, decision makers listen to that. And so that was a headline for that news story, right? And that just came from Sono and I spending about 2 hours creating these very, very simple graphics. Now with Canva, like you could probably do that in like 10 minutes, right? So you have the power to do that. You can take data points, create infographics, shoot videos, and create a viral campaign and target decision makers to say, you need to do something about this. Soon, members of Congress were using that factoid. 1 out of every 7 Asian immigrants is undocumented, including Congresswoman Judy Chu and the Congressional Asian. This example is from earlier this week. So if you go to apidata.com/reports, you'll see this report talking about the post-pandemic agenda. One of the data points from that report came from the California Health Interview Survey, and it asked Californians how fearful they were of being a victim of gun violence, right? And what we found was that Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders and Asian Americans were much more fearful than the average Californian. And so that's one of the things that we used when we pitched the story to reporters. And we got a pretty quick news credit on that. And then I had another interview, and when it was important, right? This reporter was really good. He's like, okay, this shows that Asians and Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders very high in terms of fear of being a victim of gun violence. But if you look at the Center for Disease Control, CDC data, it shows that Asians are actually among the lowest to actually experience injury or death from guns. So how do you reconcile that, right? And that's important. But without that data point, we wouldn't even know that this is a phenomenon in the community, because what you would have thought is, if you didn't have that survey data, you would have thought, oh, Asians aren't getting killed by guns. Gun control or fear of gun violence is not an issue for the community. We needed to collect that survey data to show that this is an issue. By the way, we found over the last decade that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are among the strongest supporters of gun control. Black people are too, by the way, and Latinos decently. White people are the least supportive of gun control measures. But most of the time, when you see news stories about people that are agitating for gun control, they feature suburban white moms. That's the face of the issue. The narrative does not reflect the data, right? And so we need to really look at that data and to use it as a powerful tool for action. All right, I'm going to shift over into futures work now, but hopefully that gives you a sense of the kind of work that happens here at the Center for Social Innovation, but also at UCR and other colleges and universities. We arm you with the kinds of tools that you can use. I shouldn't say arm. We provide you with the kinds of tools that you can use to make a more persuasive argument. What we're doing today is very special. It's a major, major stop towards what's going to be this huge summit on the West Lawn of the state capitol about a month from now. Now, how many people here have been to Sacramento? Wow, cool. Did y'all do it for class? No? Y'all do? Okay. How many people have been to the state capitol in Sacramento? Okay. Well, we encourage you all to think about joining us on March 12th. It's a Sunday afternoon. It's the same weekend where the UC Students Association are organizing. And on Monday, they're going to be making legislative visits to talk about things like eliminating student debt. How many people here care about eliminating student debt? All right. They're going to be talking about hunger and food insecurity. How many people here care about hunger and food insecurity for young people? They're going to be talking about affordable housing. How many people here care about affordable housing? All right. That's what's going to happen, right? That weekend and the week that follows. Even if you can't make it, what you do here today is going to be reflected with these postcards that you're going to fill out and these vision statements and these exercises that we're going to do. But we will follow up with you. One of our hopes coming out of today is to create a platform where you can send letters to your future self, branded through California 100, and then you will get that letter back 10 years from now. So think about that. All right? So as you're thinking about it, let me say a little bit about California 100 and the kinds of skills that it'll hopefully leave you with. So what we're talking about is thinking better about the future and becoming futurists. This is not science fiction. Although we want to get the kind of creative energy from our communities to be able to do this work. Right, so there's 5 principles. One is take time seriously, including short-term scales and long-term scales, right? Thinking, sometimes when you go and see things of natural beauty, you see thousands of years in front of you, right? The work that's happened thousands of years before you. And maybe that can inspire you to think about what the next 1,000 years could be. By the way, this kind of stuff, we talk about it as new. Native peoples in California, the US, and even throughout the world have been doing this kind of long-term work for so long. We're barely catching up with where we should have been. Another thing is to get more skilled at sensing patterns. This may be a little bit more challenging when you're younger, because as you grow older, you build more and more experience, so you start getting that judgment, right? But you've seen enough. You make judgment calls every day. You don't need to see all the information to know if you're in a safe setting or not a safe setting, right? Or if something's going to be worth your time or something is not going to be worth your time. You should always be open to new information, but sensing and sensing patterns, this notion of pattern sensing, right? I have a PhD, I'm a professor. It took me 15 years after being a professor to get comfortable not just running statistical analysis, but to sense and to detect patterns. Because when you detect patterns, you see this in many sports, you see this in creative arts. It's the ability to detect patterns, know your surroundings, and to be able to act strategically. Another key tenet is to get comfortable with complexity. Now, this is something more I have to say to people with PhDs or master's degrees, because what they do is they analyze something and make it really, really simple, right? They create a set of assumptions to make something super simple. They want to take complexity and boil it down to something very, very simple. We want people to get comfortable with the fact that the world is complex. So you can't solve housing, for example, without thinking about transportation, without thinking about energy, without thinking about the environment, without thinking about climate change, without thinking about jobs, right? That's the kind of complexity we're talking about. So there's a commission called the Future of Work Commission. You can't think about the future of work. How many people are concerned about the future of work? Okay. How many people here are concerned about the future of education? Yeah. This will be an easy one. How many people have heard of ChatGPT? Okay. Oh, you should check it out. Whoops. Educators, I don't know if I let something out of the bag. All right. Y'all can talk about it at lunch, what ChatGPT is. But that is something that got released into the wild in November that within 3 months has already fundamentally disrupted the future of education. It's already happened. All your teachers are busy thinking about how they're going to change their lesson plans over the summer, because it's not only coming, it's already here. It basically uses artificial intelligence to write whatever essay you want. And you can say, write this essay in the tone of a 17-year-old male. It'll write it for you. So that's the kind of complexity we're talking about, and the kind of disruptions, right? I mean, you notice that all of these things that seemed pretty stable over the last few years are starting to all of a sudden get unstable, right? When was the last time we had a massive pandemic in this country? Do you remember? the late 90s, right? 1919, so it took a century. When's the last time we had a major war in Europe? At least 50 years ago. So the kinds of disruptions we're seeing today is what happens when you go from one world order to some other order, but we don't know what that new order is going to be. So what you're seeing, what you're experiencing is massive disruptions that are happening in technology, that are happening in the economy, that are happening in society. And we need to be better prepared. We need to understand complexity. We need to take time more seriously, right? We need to get creative. We need to be able to sense patterns, what's going on, so that we can make sure that the kind of education we're getting today is still going to be helpful 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Those are the kinds of problems that we're working on in California 100, and we want to get you all better prepared to be able to plan, strategize about your own futures and your community's futures. So we have an enormous team at California 100, maybe not enormous, like around 15 people or so. But 5 of them are focused on our youth work and our summit work. And we have Nina here, who does not have green hair today, but green is usually Nina's favorite color. And she's our youth engagement specialist. And we have Tammy Jo. Is Tammy Jo here in the room? Tammy Jo is somewhere. There's Tammy Jo. Tammy Jo is like the head for our youth summit and has put together an incredible program. It's something that you don't want to miss. And we'll find out ways that you can at least live vicariously in terms of the stuff we have. By the way, at that summit, we're going to have like an Afrofuturism game and exercise. We're going to have installation art that usually shows up at Burning Man. It's called Transformity. Basically, there's money on trees that you're encouraged to take and deface as a critique of capitalism as it exists today. All right? We have a bunch of other stuff going on. So you don't want to miss that. And Tammy Jo is making it all happen. Thank you, Tammy Jo. And we have Julia and Lindsay, who are remote today, who have also been helping us. So what is California 100? It's kind of like an onion. You can peel off different layers, right? At its most fundamental level, it is a statewide initiative. It's kind of like one of this legal language. California 100 is a statewide initiative incubated through the University of California and Stanford. And what we're trying to do is to design a vision and a strategy for California's long-term future. Everything we do is anchored in core values. This is something that many of us have learned over time. By the way, anytime I start a new project now, anytime I want to start a new enterprise, I think about core values and figure out who else can I work with that is aligned on those values. And that's because if you're trying to work with other people and your values are like totally different, you're not going to get very far. Right? How many people have heard that expression? If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. How many people have heard of that? So that's powerful. But imagine if you're like bringing 100 other people along and everyone wants to go in a different direction. You don't go very far. So you need to start getting aligned on your core values. One of the things you'll learn about me is I'm a sucker for acronyms. You already heard about DNA. This is an aspirational initiative for the future of California. So this spells I Rise. How many of you have heard that poem, Still I Rise? Strongly encourage you to read it, listen to it performed. It's powerful, right? It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. People who are counted out, people who are beaten down, and yet they rise. That's what this represents. And so these are the core values: innovation, resilience, inclusion, sustainability, equity. And we need to start getting concrete about those, right? Happy to talk about that later. In fact, we will do some exercises about it later. Now, these values, think of these as something solid that you need to grab onto when things start getting weird and topsy-turvy, right? Remember the part I said we're moving from one stable order to some other order into the future? We don't know what, but what we're seeing now are massive disruptions. It's the kind of stuff that was happening during the Industrial Revolution in Europe and in the United States. In fact, people say that we're going through the fourth Industrial Revolution right now. So if the world starts getting disorienting, you need to have something to hold on to, right? That can anchor you. It brings stability. What are your core values? You need to think really strong and hard about that. What are the non-negotiables for you? By the way, I'll get a little personal here. I remember my first long-term relationship was actually in college. And I did everything to make sure that the relationship would proceed and and both of us. But I remember like 4 years into it, 4 years into it, 4 years into it. And this is crazy. Like we watched a movie, all right? And we started arguing about the movie. And I was like, wow, we're like really different. We're really, really different. We're really different. I don't think this is going to work out. Right? After 4 years. Wait. Okay, wait. Let me explain. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just repeat the story. No, but this is what I'll say. When you're in college or even when you're in high school, I mean, you're living your life, things are going on, but you have a lot of other people and support systems around you. But when you're thinking about, is this going to be my life partner? You need to see, are we aligned on core values? On things like materialism. On things like, do you want to have children? On things, so many things. How do you want to spend your free time? When you're in high school and in college, everything else is kind of figured out for you. Maybe not, but a lot of it is. You have schedules, right? In terms of how your day proceeds. Anyway, getting aligned on core values is something that's going to be really important in your own lives into the future. A lot of people now, when they're going into businesses, when they're getting jobs, they're thinking about what are your values. This is happening more and more with young people. They're not just going to take a job because it pays the bills. Of course, that's important. But if you have the ability to choose, you will find employers that align with your core values. And that's why you see many of these companies now, right? After George Floyd, why do you think all of those companies came out with their statements? Because it was important for them because they knew that their employees wanted them to say something, that they couldn't be silent about it, right? I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, y'all, but core values are important. You have to trust. That's what I say to it's actually what my 12-year-old tells me. Trust. Just trust that core values are going to be important in your personal lives, in your professional lives, and in the work that you do in community with others. We also have an amazing commission. So we have an intergenerational commission. So about half of our commission is under age 35. And it's important for us to have that two-way flow. Mentoring is not just something that is information or wisdom transmitted down from an older person to a younger person. We believe very strongly that it's a two-way flow, right? So we have some pretty accomplished people on our commission. We also have a bunch of advisors. Now, remember what I said about complexity. We have 15 issue areas covering all sorts of issues in California. What we have for you today is boiling it down. We've combined some of those issues down to 6, right, for you to get engaged with. And then, of course, all of our work is building up towards this youth summit, as well as this final report that we'll be putting out in May and June. So if you're interested, just go and sign up. Even if you're like not sure that you can make it, at least you'll get information. And we will find ways, if it's impossible for you to be there, for you to be able to join us somehow virtually. All right, so one of the things we're going to have at the summit, actually one of the major things at the summit, is what we're calling youth manifestos for the future of California. And what we'll do today is a miniaturized version of a manifesto. We've come up with a formula now on how to create your own manifesto, and we're working with a group called YR Media. It used to be called Youth Radio. It's for young people and run by young people to provide a toolkit in terms of how do you create your own manifesto. What we'll do today is focus on two parts of a manifesto. One is vision and vision statements, your visions for the future of California, and then solutions. Other parts of the manifesto are strategies and commitments. So another thing, in addition to loving acronyms, is I love analogies. So think of vision as being able to see a mountain summit. How many people were able to see a mountain summit today when they got out of bed? Or I think the air was pretty good today, right? Like we could actually see the mountains today. So one thing in terms of visioning is being able to look far ahead and see what that mountaintop is. So talking about Martin Luther King, one of the biggest kind of crowning achievements, not achievements, when he crescendos in that speech of I have a dream, he says, I've been to that mountaintop, right? That's the vision. Because when you get to that mountaintop, you see everything. So part of it is to figure out, right? So the vision is to be able to find that summit, to identify the summit, and then to get others to agree. That's a collective vision. That's where we need to go. People talk about a North Star, but I find the mountain analogy, especially in California, because most places there is a mountain on the horizon somewhere. So that's vision. Think of solutions as all of the different trails that you could possibly take to get to that mountaintop. So that's what you'll also do today, right? This is our vision for California on this issue that I care about. And I'm going to brainstorm all of the different trails that I can use to get to that mountaintop. Now think of strategies as things that get in your way, or maybe opportunities. Like some of you play video games, like, yeah, like this is like one of those like adventure type games, right? So bears might steal your food on your way up to that mountaintop. Your campsite might get flooded, forest fires, all this stuff. By the way, this is what happens day to day. We want our community to get to a certain spot, and then a recession happens, a war in Ukraine happens, gas prices spike up. And we're so caught up in everything that's happening around us, we get disoriented and we lose sight of that mountaintop. So we want people to get smarter about strategies. What happens when you have these obstacles in your way that you can go around them and never lose sight of that mountaintop? And then finally, commitments. We can come up with strategies and ideas all day, every day. But what are you going to do about it? Right? What is your personal commitment? What is your family's commitment? Those of you who are working, what is your professional commitment? And then how can you use your sphere of influence, or the person you know who might know someone else who might know a member of Congress, right? To get to their office and to secure a commitment from them for your solution, right? So that you can get past a lot of these barriers. So that's essentially what our youth manifesto is about and what the different components are. So here's a more kind of standard example. So say you have a vision. And so by the way, when we say vision, right, it's a vision that involves people and or places and or the environment that are anchored in core values, right? So imagine that this is a vision statement. Everyone in California has access to safe and affordable housing. So if that's your vision statement, then you can start brainstorming solutions, right? So one of the proposed solutions is allows city governments to authorize affordable housing without requiring a vote of the public. Turns out that the California state constitution requires that even if a city council, right, of democratically representatively elected body approves of a higher density affordable housing construction, they cannot do it. They have to put it in front of the voters. What do you think happens when that happens? Most voters shoot it down. Because most of the people who vote are not the renters, they're the homeowners. They tend to have much higher turnout in these types of elections. Right? So that could be one solution. Change the California Constitution. Right? Another, so then that's solutions. A strategy is, well, it's not easy to change the California Constitution. You need to get a whole bunch of signatures to get it done. So how do you do that? That's strategy. And then finally, you have commitment, right? I will fight for this. I will fight for a California where this is true, right? Where everyone has access to safe and affordable housing. Pay attention to that. Later on today, we're going to give you postcards where you write your vision statement. And we promise you we will deliver that to leaders in Sacramento. Okay? It's a powerful document. You can take a photo of it, so that you can remind that for yourself, that this is my vision statement. This is a part of me that I'm sharing with everyone else, including the most powerful people in the state of California, at least in state government. Or you could say, I commit my personal and professional effort to this strategy. But what we're going to do today with that postcard exercise is, I dream of a California where this is true, or I will fight for a California where this is true. And you can check off both of those or one of those. But what's really important is your vision statement. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now, one of the simplest ways, pay attention, y'all. One of the simplest ways to create a vision for the future is to think about news headlines. How many people have read a news headline before? Oh, come on. Every hand has to go up here. All right. So this is not difficult to do. But news headlines have to be short, right? So we'll ask you to write news headlines about the future of your community that you care about, or the future of California. But you can do the same exercise for yourself. I mean, Bronny is going to do fine because his dad is a billionaire. But think back to LeBron James, right? And the poverty that he grew up in, right? Or Lionel Messi, just won the World Cup finally, grew up in the most difficult of circumstances, abject poverty. But they had that vision for themselves, right? To say in 10 years, I'm going to be GOAT at something. I could say goated. I don't know if that's grammatically correct. Right? So think about that. Please don't write this on your postcard. Like, I dream of a California where I become a billionaire. Well, maybe. But this is just thinking, get you warmed up, right? By the way, how many people here use Canva? I was blown away when I found out who the founders of Canva were, right? And they're billionaires now. Came up with a very simple solution. So think about that. Think about a future news headline for yourself. We have some other examples. This is a kind of funny one from this comic strip series. And these are future news headlines that humans might find to be dystopian, right? How many people have heard the term dystopian? I'm just curious. Okay, good. Right? So humans might be like, wow, that world sucks. But the insects are feeling pretty good. Robots are feeling pretty good. So those are other things you can do in a more sci-fi direction. Now, we want you to get ready with your devices because we're going to start doing some news headlines. Okay. All right. So think about a news headline about an issue that you care about. I really care about housing. I care about affordable transportation. I care about mental health. Whatever you care about, okay? Think about that issue. Just take a second. This is important. This is really important. Okay? Maybe even close your eyes. Think about an issue. This is something that you really, really care about. You got to follow your passions. Okay? Now, then go to Mentimeter, and then I'll need to switch it. No, I'll need to go out. Okay, there we go. Okay, then go to that code. But I'm trying to go to laptop and it's not. Are you plugged in? Okay, we're gonna get some tech help in a second. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. Woo. That's kind of crazy. I don't know what that's doing. Okay, but it's kind of going crazy there. Okay. So write your news headline for the future. Six or seven words. There are no homeless people in California by 2032. That could be a news headline. Governor wipes out student debt in California. That could be a news headline. California with affordable health care. But this is 10 years down the road. Dream big, guys. Dream big. The government isn't corrupt anymore. Abortion becomes legal. California becomes the first state to abolish student debt. A California with no crime. Wow, that's the shortest headline. Well, two shortest headlines so far. Student debt gone. Is that like a journalist there? How many are journalists here? Like, y'all are good. Okay, write some more. We got to get more. We have like what? 200 people here? There's like 20 headlines up there. Let's get more. 35. Harris finds a solution to atrocious school bathrooms. Love you guys. Gun control is established. California has an abundance of water. College becomes free throughout all the US. Capitalism is abolished. Damn. More funding for the arts and schools. California, where gun shootings have not taken place in 10 years. SoCal gas has to lower the price. Universal health care, affordable colleges. California allows green card holders to vote. By the way, I've written a book about that. How the state can actually allow people who are not US citizens to actually vote. We can do that. California can. Okay. All right, so let's go. Okay, I'm gonna continue doing it. I'm gonna get back to my presentation. All right, hopefully y'all will be quicker on the draw for the next one. All right, what we wanna do next. All right. Okay, think about that, okay? So what we wanna do next is, remember I said everything we do are anchored in core values. So we're gonna do this as a word cloud exercise. This should be simple for you, okay? So we wanna know, what does innovation mean to you? Okay. Okay, So this is a word cloud, word association. When you hear the word innovation, what comes to mind? One word, maybe two. Okay, let's keep them popping. Only one person so far. Okay, creative, new, original, inspiration, invention. And if you like what someone's done, just type it in and it'll boost it, right? So let's go. I see 30 responses, 31. Let's keep going. 39, 43, let's go. Okay. Creativity is going strong, change, new, beautiful, amazing. Let's go, let's go. Let's see if we can break 100. Come on, guys. Okay. We're gonna give you another 10 seconds. You can write multiple responses, I believe, right? Let's go, let's break that 100. Okay. All right, you can still do it, right? But notice one thing. Notice one thing. This happens every single time we do this. Notice that the word technology is not in there as a dominant word, right? But a lot of times when people, decision makers, if you look at a county, if you look at a city, and you look at someone whose title is Chief Innovation Officer, it's the head IT person. Okay. All right. Okay. Next, we're going to go. Okay, there's a new poll now. This is the second word. What does resilience mean to you? It's a word that's getting thrown around a lot. What does it mean to be resilient? So the code is 5114-4901. It's a new code. So what does resilience mean to you? Okay, again, let's keep them coming. Let's try to break 100 again. What does resilience mean to you? Grit, faith, strength, persistence, tough, fearless, determination. Some of you are like doing some other stuff. But take this serious, guys, hold on. This is going to be important, right? Because we're having fun with this, but you have to think about if these are values that you're going to live by, what does it mean to you? Okay, let's go next to inclusion. All right, same code. What does inclusion mean to you? Right? Community, everyone, diversity, listening, understanding, beautiful. Y'all are doing great. Okay, let's see if we can break 100 again. Community, together, diversity. Okay, let's go to the next word now. Right, it's I rise. So the next word starts with an S, sustainability. New code, 2632-2306. What does sustainability mean to you? Come on, guys. Really? I thought y'all grew out of Fortnite. Sustainability, stable, foundation, long-term. We're going to be done soon, y'all. Let's go. Green, stability, renewable, affordable. Okay. All right. Next, we go to equity. By the way, We have Assemblymember Corey Jackson in the house, and he's going to be here soon. So we're going to finish this up quick, but it's getting serious, folks, right? Because he's going to talk. He's going to talk about what's on his mind, right? It's just got very real in terms of these vision statements, because you're going to have visioning that you're going to do in a second in terms of your vision statements. So think about it seriously, right? In terms of what this means. Okay, let's, so I'm going to go to the next set of slides. All right, okay, we're almost done here. 3 more minutes of your time. But this is in some ways probably the most important part right here. What you've done is you've done a news headline exercise about the issue you care about. You've done a word association game about the core values. So what we want you to do now is to write out a vision statement on the issue that you care about. And to use either, we envision a California where this is true. We demand or dream of a California where this is true, right? So for example, you can say, I dream or we dream of a California where everyone has free healthcare, including free mental health care. All right, take this, guys, take this very, very seriously. Like, this is an issue that you care about. These are people that you care about. It might be yourself. You care about yourself. You want to build a California that will serve you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, right? So here are some examples that some of our other campus-based fellows said, right? We dream of California without single-use plastics. A couple of others, these might not be as inspirational as you would like. So come up with something bigger and better, right? So this is the code here, right? What is your vision for the future of California? So do you have that up, Nina? This is the vision statement. So 1 second. This should be on menti.com. Oh, so it's a different code. Okay, let me change the code. 2205 5380. Okay. All right, that's the code. Right? What is your dream for the future of California? We're going to share some of this with the assembly member. So think big in terms of what is your vision for the future of California on the issue that you care about? Housing, education, right? It's not, guys, this is not just a news headline exercise, right? I dream of a California where what, right? You so say something like there is no more racism, right? Where gender affirming care is wow, amazing, right? Is accessible to all. I dream of a California where free housing is a right. Keep going, right? You have multiple shots at this. What is your vision? What is your dream for California? I cry for an equal California. A California with gun control, but maybe dig deeper. What does that mean? A California where gun violence ends, maybe, right? Where no one is a victim of gun violence. Think about that. People, places, or communities that you care about, right? We dream of a California where students don't need to fear of shootings or feel unsafe. No one has to worry about not having enough money in order to succeed. For mental health to be recognized as a real issue, amazing, right? Y'all can do this. Let's dig deeper here. Okay, let's go for another 30 seconds. This is your final shot before you listen to the assembly member and what his dreams and visions are. But we want him to know what your dreams and visions are, right? Mothers will be provided with long-term paid maternity leave. More Asian cultures are spread throughout California. Equality in workplaces. Amazing. Well, give yourself a major round of applause. Y'all did great. And now, It is my distinct pleasure. I don't know. Well, we'll wait to see if folks know that we're ready for Assemblymember Jackson. So hold on a second. Okay. We need a better communication system. We have like so many different rooms going on here. Okay. Okay, while we're waiting for the assembly member, does someone want to speak to an issue that they wrote? I would love for the assembly member to hear from y'all. Anyone? Yeah. Share what you said. Yeah.
I said that I dream of a
Stand
Calif-
up, stand up,
Oh,
stand
okay,
up.
okay.
Let's go.
Uh,
And what's your name?
my name is Ryan.
Okay. And what school are you from?
I'm from Martin Luther King High School.
Let's go. Okay. Let's go.
Okay. I said that I dream of a California where gun violence is tackled and where communities and schools are safe, and a California where the American dream is attainable.
Okay. Someone from over here, come on up, come on up. Let's go. Okay. Your name and what school you're from?
I'm Ashmitha. I'm from Riverside STEM.
Riverside STEM in the house. Okay.
I dream of a California where we have free and accessible public transportation, and have like expansive trains and buses so that we don't have to drive to school every morning and rely on our parents.
Yeah. By the way, San Diego has free public transportation for every young person. They can do it in San Diego. Maybe they can do it in Riverside too. Okay, over here. Let's go.
My name is Jessica. I'm from Middle College High School.
Who else is from Middle College over here? All right. A small but mighty force.
So my statement was that I dream of a California where all students from elementary even to college have affordable or free mental and physical health care.
Thank you. Let's go over here. Same
So-
school? Come on, Howard.
So I'm Elvis. I'm from Middle College High School, and I envision a California where funding for schools are distributed among all schools, so everybody has the opportunity they need to pursue a higher education.
Thank you. Thank you, Elvis. Let's go over here and then we'll do one more. Name and school.
Sorry. I'm Alejandro. I'm from San Bernardino High School, and
There you go.
I envision a California where homelessness is tackled, and we get rid of urban blight to bring our society together and hope for a reform movement.
Thank you. All right. Actually, you know what? We're gonna do two. So let's go with you and you. Yeah.
My name is Alicia. I'm from Bayside. And
Who else is from Bayside? Come on, y'all. Yeah.
I dream of California that is African Americans are treated equally and gender doesn't matter in any situation.
Yes. All right. You got to make this good, y'all.
Hello, my name is Jacob. I also go to Bayside. I just wanted to say that I love everything that everybody is saying, and I agree with all of that. But as well with that, I wanted to also say that everybody wants everything to be free and like free healthcare. I'm with that on everything. But you guys got to think of the ways for people to invest in those things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because nobody's just gonna give us away free things. You got to think of the ways for somebody to want to invest in that.
Okay. Well, there you go. Right. We want a diversity of opinion. And by the way, part of the thing that happens too, hold up. A lot of times when you analyze a situation, right? How many people think that A high school education should be free? How many people think that a college education should be free? Well, you know what? In the early 20th century, some people thought you should actually have 14 years of education free. But they said, maybe we'll just cut it off at 12. Now, that is something, someone is paying for it. Nothing is really free. Someone is paying for it. But why do we have free high school education? Because we believe that by investing in young people, the dividends that we get, right? How many people have heard of ROI, return on investment? That return on investment will be enormous. That is part of the work of futures. Sometimes it is going to cost you right away to be able to make that progress in the future. Okay, so we have Assemblymember Cervantes here joining us from the Riverside area, who'll have a few remarks for all you. Assemblymember Cervantes. Take it away.
All right.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
So we have
put my
people here
items
from
down.
Riverside, Moreno Valley, and San Bernardino.
Excellent. Oh, this is a crowded room. I love it. Can you all hear me? Who wants me to use a mic?
People remotely.
Okay, good. Okay, so I will use a mic, no problem. So I'm going to multitask here. So it is an honor for me to be here. I am California State Assembly Member Sabrina Cervantes. Currently just won my 4th re-election to the State Assembly. So I've been representing our communities for the last 6 years in Sacramento. So I will just touch a little bit on a few items, and I know that you are also going to be hearing from my colleague, Assemblymember Corey Jackson, shortly. But again, this is an amazing opportunity to be before so many future leaders in this room, so many of you who are fighting for different causes, issues that are important to you. I do want to share with you some of the communities that I represent in the state legislature with redistricting that just happened. I represent the city of Riverside, the city of Corona, the city of Eastville, the city of Jurupa Valley, the city of Grand Terrace, and then unincorporated portions of Western Riverside County. So I do represent 500,000 constituents. But at the end of the day, I represent Californians. And so it's important that we hear from you, your needs are, so we can elevate those at the state level. I am also proud and honored to be the chair of the California Latino Legislative Caucus. And so I am the first chair to ever come from the Inland Empire. And so we are very proud of that. But that also gets to me, that gets to the point of elevating our region, right? And being that change and creating a prosperous future for all of the Inland Empire residents. It is really exciting to know that we have a record-breaking number of Latino legislators in the history of the Latino caucus. With 38 members, we have 3 constitutional officers, 35 members, which 11 in the Senate, the rest in the Assembly, and we are a Latina majority for the first time in our history. So we have more women elected to the state legislature, and we still have a long ways to go in gaining parity. We have the most women ever elected in our state's history. So I'm also proud to be part of the Legislative Women's Caucus. I'm also proud to be part of the Legislative LGBTQ Caucus, where, here's another great fact, we are the largest LGBT caucus than any other state here in California, the largest LGBTQ caucus. And so it is an honor to be just here advocating on behalf of the 16 million, nearly 16 million Latinos in the state of California, but also being the voice of 39 million Californians. I am actually the first representative to the first Latina millennial in the state legislature, the first LGBTQ woman of color to represent my district. But we are continuing to move the needle, making sure that we have more voices from different perspectives, different walks of life, different experiences, being that advocate for change in Sacramento. And so I welcome you to be a part of the solutions because truly you are our future. I do want to make a few notes here and talk a little bit about my family's story, my background. It's truly my family's story that has sparked my journey in getting to public office. I come from a family whose service goes back all the way to World War II. I'm sure many of you have family members who are veterans who have served and continue to serve our country. But it doesn't stop there. My family is also part of those who went up and down the state to pick and harvest fruits and vegetables. Farm workers. I'm the daughter of farm workers. I'm the daughter of Mexican immigrants. And so we all have similar stories, similar backgrounds. Our journeys may look a little different, but we all have dreams and aspirations. And it is my family's stories that truly inspire me. And I carry those stories with me. And I carry those every day when I go to Sacramento. I'm there Monday through Thursday, and I'm back in my district Friday through Sunday. And it is because of their struggles and our ancestors' struggles who paved the way for voices like ours at every level of government. And I share that with you because our stories matter and we need to tell our stories more. And so I encourage you to lean in on your story because you're here today for a reason. You may not know that reason now, but you'll look down 5 years from now and you realize the person sitting next to you may be one of the key contacts you need 5 years from now. Truly, I look back at my experience. I don't know if many of you know, I am actually an alumni from UC Riverside. I graduated in 2009 with a major in political science and a minor in public policy. And when I look back at my journey and I look back at the internship opportunities that I had as a college student and what I did after that has unlocked opportunities for me till this day. And so I encourage you to make contact with as many folks in this room during your time here. Just a little bit about how I got to running for office. I will share with you that when I decided to run in 2015 to announce my candidacy, it was a struggle. It was a struggle because I didn't get that that immediate support because folks didn't think that someone like me and my experience, my background could ever be elected to represent our communities in Sacramento. And we worked hard because I knew that I was no longer allowed to play small. If you truly want to be the change, you have to find it within yourself to take that leap of faith. And it does require a leap of faith, confidence, to step into that next stage in your life. And so that's what I did. By the words of wisdom of many in my family, I was able to look at beyond the hardships that were before us because I knew that this was the best way that I can show up in this world. That might not be your journey, but I encourage you to really dig deep and to find out what that looks for you individually. And through our success, I've been able to deliver $600 million in direct funding right here to the regions of our city, in our region, $600 million in direct funding. So what does that look like? $600 million. What does that look like to you all? Park funding, road infrastructure funding, childcare development centers. We we lack a need of access to healthcare here in our region. Funding for the UCR Medical School, to continue working on our pipeline for dealing with our physician shortage here in the IE, primary health care providers. That also looks like protecting our environment, funding to protect our open spaces in our most marginalized communities, funding to develop and build the first Veterans Resource Center at Norco College. We've really moved the needle by bringing and delivering these dollars right here back home, because Riverside County, San Bernardino County have always been overlooked in Sacramento. We've been under-resourced, underfunded, but my motivation was to get up there and be that change I wanted to see. And we've seen that over the last several years. And I'm grateful to many of my colleagues in leadership who've been able to stand with me, advocating with me in order to deliver back home. Because it does take unity, it takes a team. I'm grateful to my district director who is here, who's also UCR alumni, Rachel Gonzaga, who's in the back with me, who was also the part of the first cohort of the master's program here, the School of Public Policy. And so just know that the work for me is all local. Everything that I introduce, all the things that I fight for comes from the local community all the way to Sacramento, not from the top down, it's from the bottom up, because that's what I was always taught. And so I will leave you just with a few short things, because I know that we have your next speaker here with you. There was a lot of things in my unique journey that led me here: voter registration drives, being a part of different campaigns, my work as sitting as on the advisory committee for the Chicano Latino Alumni Association here at UC Riverside, my work on the advisory committee on the School of Public Policy. These are all things that I continue to be involved with and a part of. But some of the things I do want to mention to you are the key partners in our community. We talk about housing, we talk about LGBTQ rights, we talk about closing the gaps in these areas, but we were also able to deliver on key housing right here in downtown Riverside for the first ever True Revolution Project legacy site that will house our seniors living with HIV and AIDS, house our most vulnerable in our community, our LGBTQ youth, and provide wraparound services and workforce development. These are all issues that are important to us for the well-being of our community. I will continue to fight for improvements every day, but we need you in that fight. We need you in that journey with us. And so with that, I celebrate each of you today. So many things have come full circle. I will close with last year, I had the opportunity to fight for a bill that was very near and dear to me because I come from a family of farm workers. This was AB 2183. In order to give farm workers the right to organize without fear of intimidation, they had a statewide march all the way to Sacramento. And I was honored to participate in that march with many members of the Latino Legislative Caucus, with members of the Black Caucus, with members of the API Caucus. We all came together to march in support of this bill, to fight for our farm workers who put food on our table, especially during the pandemic, when they were really struggling for their own health and well-being. Where are their advocates? Where are their voices? Who's uplifting them? And so it was full circle for me because I had the opportunity to bring up my sister, who's Mayor Pro Tem here in the city of Riverside, Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Clarissa Cervantes, as well as my father, who came to Sacramento and marched alongside us. And who was right there by our side? Dolores Huerta. Dolores Huerta is a civil rights icon. And to be able to march with her was an amazing experience. And guess what happened? the governor signed that bill into law. It is now law. And so I close with that because we have to celebrate our victories as well. We have to celebrate through the challenges that we have. And I keep my grandparents in mind because I know that they would be so proud of how far we've come. And, you know, I know that they're no longer with us today, but I do carry their spirit of service. I carry their spirit of leadership, and I carry our community with me every day in Sacramento, because at the end of the day, we are truly our ancestors' wildest dreams. And I want you to unlock your purpose, unlock your power and your talent, and gain the skills here today that are going to take you into the future in order to give back to our community. I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Assemblymember Cervantes. Folks, you know, we have amazing leadership coming from this region, right? She is humble to a fault, but having the chair of the Latino caucus here from our region, this is one of the most powerful caucuses in the country. So one of the things we said before, Assemblymember, is we're getting people fired up, and to get them to focus on the issues they're passionate about, you might get some people coming to your office.
I welcome you.
Okay.
Please.
With ideas, right, to improve California. So thank you so much, Assemblymember. I was a professor here in 2009 when Assemblymember Cervantes graduated. Okay, well, next we have Dr. Corey Jackson, who many of you may already know. And he represents a district that includes Moreno Valley, Paris, and more. So please give a warm welcome. And by the way, he's worked with high school students a lot in his career. So I'm proud and pleased to welcome Assemblymember and a brand new Assemblymember to the state of California, Corey Jackson.
Hey, what's up? I am so proud to be here so that I can actually talk and meet with regular people. You know, I grew up here in the Inland Empire. I grew up in the city of Rialto. And I graduated from Rialto High School, graduated with my bachelor's to Cal State San Bernardino, and got my master's and doctorate degree in social work at Cal Baptist University. But what I need you to know is this. My very first steps in my journey that brought me here today started in my junior year in high school. In my junior year in high school, I was raised by a village. People in high school, teachers that I still talk to today, took me under their wing and told me that I can do more than just play sports. Some of them threatened me to get involved in other things. People, teachers that I spent lunchtime with in their classrooms provided me with opportunities to make sure that I had a strong foundation to understand my full potential. I started off, the first time I ever ran for something was my senior year in high school. And in Rialto, on the Rialto School Board, there's a spot for a student member to represent all the students. And it was there that I was encouraged / voluntold / threatened to run. First time I ever ran for anything, I actually ran against some of my friends. School-wide election, and I ran and I won to represent all of my colleagues, all my fellow students on the Rialto School Board for a year. All right. But how did I do that is more important. Number one, I listened to trusted adults on campus to help guide me. If you don't have people on the campus, right, that will help you, who you use to advise you, that you know, sometimes they don't tell you what you want to hear, but they tell you what you need to hear. You have to surround yourself with those folks, with those adults. And then secondly, if all of your friends look like you, talk like you, like the same things as you, you're doing it all wrong. Oh, my bad. You have got to have different friends. Now, I'm not saying kick your best friend to the curb. But what I am saying is this. As soon as you get out of high school, you're going to be forced to work with, be in the same room with, sometimes live with people that are different from you. And if you don't know how to connect with their stories, their life experiences, their culture, you are behind the ball already. If you don't have a grass friend who spends lunchtime chilling on the grass, you're behind the ball. If you don't have someone who you think might be a gangster, and you don't know, and you don't have one of them as your friend, you're behind the ball. If you don't have someone who gets straight A's and wears glasses, and I still do sometimes, and nerds like me, you're behind the ball. Oh, I might be striking a nerve here. All right. If you don't have someone who spends their time somewhere in the corner, somewhere by themselves, and you walk past them every day, and you know they might not have a lot of friends, but they tend to be by themselves, and you walk past them every day, but you never bother to know what their name is, you're behind the ball. Why? Because when it was time for me to run, guess what? I had me a lot of everybody. You have to understand that. And it's the same thing when you become an adult. If you want to make change, if you want to make sure that you build what we call power in the community, it comes from building a broad coalition of people who may never hang out together, but you find out that, guess what? We have something in common, and we have a goal that we can all achieve together. You've got to diversify your friends. And I don't mean the friends on your social media. I mean in real life. Okay? Now, after I ran for the first time for school board, I stayed involved in the community. I joined the youth program for the NAACP. When I got to Cal State San Bernardino, I got involved in organizations there. Eventually became the chair of the student union there. Eventually got appointed by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger at the time to represent all the students in the entire CSU system, right? Why? Because I always found people to help mentor me and guide me and show me how the game is played. Okay? What most people don't tell you is, most people will tell you, learn how to play the game. You got to talk a certain way. You got to dress a certain way, right? You got to make sure you have some good stuff on your resume. You got to be a part of the the clubs that will help you look good in front of other people. They tell you, but they don't tell you the next step that should come from that. See, the game will help you to get possibly the job and keep the job that you want, right? But it won't necessarily help you to change the world. So what they don't tell you is, after you've learned how to master the game, you might be able to be in a situation where you can change the rules of the game yourself. I spent my entire young life that if you would have invited me in a place like this, I would be wearing a suit and tie right now. But guess what? I played that game. But guess what? Ain't no one gonna tell me to wear one now. But I learned how to play the game. I learned how to perfect the game. And now I get to make sure that I can show people that there's another way how to do this. After I sat on the CSU Board of Trustees, I worked in government for a while. I worked in LA for a while, where I drove to LA back and forth for 6 years. And then I said, it's time for me to work for myself. So I created an organization called SBX Youth and Family Services in Moreno Valley, where I got to work for myself for the last 10 years to help build community, to help get involved, and to help fight for systemic change. And then I had an opportunity to run for office. Well, actually, you need to know this. I'm in the state legislature now. Before that, I was on the Riverside County Board of Education. I served there for 2 years. But mostly when you read my bio, they tell you about the times that I won, but they don't tell you about the times that I lost. How many times do you think I lost an election before I won for the first time? Did someone say 11? Dang! I ain't that bad. Three, 4, 5 times. I lost 5 times before I won my first election. Many people would have given up. But what you need to know is this. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Just because you fail doesn't mean you're not qualified. Just because you fail doesn't mean you can't do it. And you need to know that you can do it. You just have to learn from some of your mistakes. And sometimes it might just not be your time, so you keep trying until it's your time, right? And when I ran here for this seat, and I've only been in this seat for maybe 2 months now, you need to know this. All the people in power did not choose me as their candidate. The current assembly member, the current political people who thought they were running the show, right? They chose someone else to support. So sometimes just because the popular people don't choose you, don't mean that you can't do it. Sometimes power has to be taken and fought for, not given to you. So just know this as I close. You are in an interesting time right now in history. We are in a historic time. A lot of times in your history books, you hear about the civil rights movement. You hear about the Holocaust. You study about all kinds of times when our nation was in trouble. But guess what? We're in that another time right now. And just like 2 or 3 years ago, when many young people took to the streets on behalf of George Floyd and said that Black Lives Matter, we need you to be prepared to continue to do that. Because the future that is being fought right now is your future and your children's future. So stand up against white supremacy. Stand up against authoritarianism. Stand up against racism. Stand up against xenophobia. Stand up against anti-hate, anti-Jewish, anti-LGBTQ. Don't accept it, right? Because if you do not continue to fight back against it, it will return on your watch. So let's keep fighting, baby.
All right. Now keep the mic, keep the mic. All right. Well, I thought people, when you say stand up, I thought people were going to start standing up, you know? But one of the things, folks, think of what you've done with your visions. It's not just standing up against, but what are you standing for? What is that vision in the next 10 years? I say, remember I said that you just gotten elected. You have, if all turns out well, 12 years left.
If I act right, yeah.
If you act right. You got a few more elections coming up. But to think about your, right, that vision, and you were there when I presented to some of your colleagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the legacy you want to leave by the time that all is said and done, at least in the assembly? I would love for you, I don't know if you've thought about it.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can speak to that, and then we have young people here who have their aspirational and serious thoughts about what needs to change, but would love to hear from you first.
I have probably 3 or 4 key goals. Number one, my overarching goal of success is this. If California still looks the same and acts the same, if the state legislature still looks the same and acts the same, by the time I leave, I will have failed. I should not have ran in the first place. My number one goal is to make sure that California becomes a proactive anti-racist state. My second goal is to make sure that the Inland Empire becomes one of the regions with the best air quality instead of the worst air quality. My goal is to take out all the white supremacy out of our public education system. Oh, I don't talk like everyone else does either, so.
That's 3, you got one more?
Sorry, not sorry. I think the fourth one is to making sure that people in the state of California are not suffering in silence due to mental illnesses, depression, anxiety, those type of things, and are able to break cycles of poverty so that they can thrive and build wealth like everyone else should be able to do.
Yeah. And Summer, you talked about how you need to have a diverse group of people that are in your circle. And I think that's going to be key, right? I mean, you're not a governor, you're not a dictator. You are one among 80 people that you need to convince, or maybe at least you need to convince 40 of them. So can you just say a little bit about coalition building and kind of building support, but also being there for other people so that when you need them, they will be there for you.
My number one goal was to make sure that when other people asked me to show up for them, I would show up, because one day I'm going to need them to show up for me. Right? That's why the Black Lives Matter protests were so special, because we saw everyone there. That was the first time many of us had hope that we would have each other's back, right? And so my goal is to always, in the legislature, every time you'll always see me on the floor, walking around talking to different diverse groups of members, including Republicans, to find out what things we can agree on, find out what things I can support of theirs, so that we can make sure that I can begin to help organize, right? And so the idea is show up and help to lead. Don't just wait for someone else to lead.
Okay. Well, hope you all are ready. There were a bunch of people that are hands up before. Some of you have a family member as in your district. He's in your district, right?
Who's in Moreno Valley, Paris, Hemet, San Jacinto?
Okay.
In the house.
All right. So either someone in his district or even outside. What would you like Assemblymember Jackson to champion in Sacramento?
Ooh, I get some homework.
Yeah. We should not leave here without at least 3 ideas or problems that you want the assembly member to look into. Yeah. Your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Faye. I'm from Vista Del Lago High School.
All right.
And a problem that I encounter in high school a lot is there's not enough trade school education classes. And so a lot of students, they're going to school just to be there. They have no motivation. They're just there because they have to be there. And if we have more classes like trade school, like plumbing, electricity, stuff like that, or automotives, anything like with trade school, I feel like more students will be willing to go to school and have a plan for their future.
We got Riverside Trade Tech coming up. I don't know if that could be part of the solution.
No, absolutely. You have to know this. Our education system many times is used to help fill in the needs of our economy. Okay? So when I was growing up, there weren't enough people with college degrees. So our education system was just kept pushing, hey, we need you to go to college. We need you to go to college, right? And I mean, it's right. The best way to build wealth and be successful is to get as much education as possible. There's no doubt about that. But now it's time for us to begin to shift back to what it was before, because I used to have wood shop, right? I took driver's ed at school, right? Those type of things. And so now you have to understand this. We need more people in the trades now. We need more welders. We need more carpenters. We need more plumbers. We need more electricians, right? And all of these careers and trades will allow you to take care of your family and allow you to buy your own home one day, right? So if you love to work with your hands, there's nothing wrong with that. That job is just as good as any other job, right? Because I guarantee you, if you get one of those jobs, your friends will be asking you for money.
Yeah, let me add to that, assignment member, which is, it's not happening in the schools right now, but there are unions, right? When it comes to electrical workers, plumbers, etc., that have apprenticeship programs right now. And these are good jobs, right? These are jobs that pay well, that have benefits. So there's no shame in that. In fact, those are much more lucrative than the kinds of jobs, especially in warehousing, that people are just going to because it's convenient, right? By the way, some of these warehousing jobs, within a year or two, you're broken. Your body is broken.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the power of long-term thinking. Don't just look what is immediately around you, and say, I'm going to do what makes sense for me financially to get me into the next month or two. That's important, but you got to think about you 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and then work backwards. It's like an elaborate board game. It's like seeing a chessboard. Don't just look and grab whatever is immediately in front of you. That job that is a convenient job might trap you in the future. So do keep that in mind, and do keep in mind labor unions that have apprenticeship programs that are not right now in the educational system. They are looking to work. The Inland Empire Labor Council is working with Riverside Community College District to create a trade tech college here, the way they have LA Trade Tech. That hopefully will make a difference. But if you have people that are wondering what to do, there are resources there. Check out the Inland Empire Labor Council, as well as other resources for apprentice type jobs that lead to very, very good jobs.
Absolutely. Any other questions? We'll go here and then we'll go there. I saw you.
Your name and where you're from?
Hello, my name is Alejandro. I come from Canyon Springs High School. And my question is, what's your plan for homelessness?
Oh, good one. Plan for homelessness is this. Number one, right now the state is using what's called a housing first strategy, which means that the first thing we need to provide people in order to get them out of crisis mode is just get them into a healthy shelter. Yeah. Right now during the crisis, we were using hotels and all kinds of stuff, but now we're incentivizing to build more affordable housing, right? Before I left SBX, we were breaking ground on a youth homeless housing project. So first, we have to provide more housing and affordable housing. After that, we need to give them all the services they need to take care of some of the different issues that they may have, right? So first, you need shelter, then you need food, right? Then you need health, any health concerns that you may have, and mental health concerns in terms of counseling and those things. And then you need to get all the documents that you need, like a driver's license and government paperwork, to be able to then choose whether you want to go to school and build up some skills, or whether you can go right into some type of employment, right? So the idea is we have to create a system that says that housing, good quality and healthy housing, is a human right. That's what we're trying to create here in California. It is not okay, unless you choose to be out in the streets, right? And then for those who may not have the mental capacity to make good decisions because maybe, you know, they have some form of a mental health where they're not really thinking about those things, how do we get them in a place where they can make those decisions and then help them to get to where they want to be too, right? But the idea isn't we shouldn't be trying to tell you, we shouldn't be creating a plan for you about what we want to see from you. We want to get you in a place where you can determine your own destiny, right? But it starts off with housing, housing, housing. We need more affordable housing.
All right. Well, thank you, Assembly Member.
I think there was just one more.
Okay, one more question, and we gotta
Then we gotta wrap it
gotta
up.
go to lunch. Yeah.
Oh, you shouldn't have told them that. Now they're like, why one more question? We hungry.
All right, my name is Manny Gray. I'm from Vista Del Lago High School. And, I was just asking about, I feel like in our, especially our school, we have a limited like options for AP classes and the college level classes. I feel like we don't have much. Oh, okay. I feel like we have a limited like classes, especially for AP or high level or classes, and like the kids taking those higher classes, they're not very diversified, and they all seem the same, taking the same courses and everything. I feel like, especially looking at other high schools, they have more AP classes, more opportunities, especially for those higher like achieving students. And how would you change that if you could?
You have to understand the game of our education system, okay? So the first thing you do is begin to have discussions with your principal, right? And if you don't believe that maybe your principal is hearing what you're trying to say, right? Then you need to talk to your parents to engage with your school board member, right? Each of you has a school board member that represents you and your family. And if you don't know who they are, most importantly, if they don't know who you are, right, that's a problem, because now you're giving your power to somebody else, right? So you need to tell them what you need. And if they don't listen, guess what? At least once a month, there's school board meetings. And the people who are in those meetings, right, are the ones that have the loudest voice. So then you go there and make sure you make your case in public about what you need to make sure that you can get to where you want to go in life, okay? The rule of the game is this: 90% of life is showing up. If you don't show up, you don't have power. And if you don't have power, someone else is deciding what your destiny is.
Okay. Well, I know there are other hands. If the assembly member has some time later, you can catch him later, but show up. Show up to his office. Look up who your member in the assembly is. Look up who your member in the state senate is. Educate yourself on the issues that matter.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah, I got some dance moves, but anyway. And hey, I do town halls on a regular basis. Show up.
Show up. Okay. So we got Eric here. Eric's been in the behind the scenes of Fatima too, but Eric is going to say what's next, and then maybe Fatima as well. So Eric, over to you. And Eric, you know what? Okay, guys. Eric, I want you to tell your story too. This will be important. Okay, hold on. Eric started college and dropped out, and this is important. Go ahead.
We want to break to lunch, but I'll quickly say the journey is not straight. I dropped out. I thought I was the first in my family to go to Cal State LA. I was the first one, the family of immigrants, and no one else helped me out. And unfortunately, I didn't do too good. And after about a year and a half, I dropped out, started working at a tortilla factory, started working as a Fred Loya insurance agent, until I finally got back into community college and I redeemed myself and I transferred here to UCR, where my career has really begun. So I just want to say there have been some dark times for me, times when I said school's not for me. And I would just say that the break really helped me realize and appreciate the journey, the beauty of being able to interact and learn from others. So I'll leave it at that. No matter what happens after today, 10, 20 years from now, please don't be down on yourself. Life happens and the journey is a bumpy road. So I can just attest to that and just appreciate everyone here for coming. So thank you all. But I want us to get food. So if it's okay, I'd like to begin by having the left side. I don't want everyone to just storm out there. So if we can quickly, Fatima, one second.
Yeah, but before we send you to lunch, I just want to let you know we're going to report chaperones. Please make sure your students are back in the building at 12:45, and then we're going to go upstairs to room 229, and we will have guides kind of helping you to that space. But please, chaperones, please watch the clock and make sure that you have your kids here back at 12:45. Please have a seat on the right-hand side. Left-hand side, go first.
Your right-hand side over here.
Hand side.
Sorry, folks. We'll try to get you out as quickly as possible. We just don't want a bunch of folks going out there.